welcome to Calm Over Chaos podcast. My name is Carlisa.
My name is Chastity, and we are sisters. Embark on this journey with us. I'm very excited to start this podcast. I hope you're here to stay forever and to see our growth.
Yes.
And to just see us continue to grow and inspire and encourage not only ourselves, but
you guys.
Yes.
We're here to heal, so we want to take you guys on this healing journey as well. And just go through life with us, because we're all experiencing life and at different angles. So we just want to show you our angles of how we're dealing with the chaos and the ways we are wanting to calm down and implement that balance in our life.
I agree. Yeah, and I think too, like a little bit about my background is like coming from single parent household and, you know, not really like having the space to be able to voice myself as much as I wanted to. And I think that having this platform is a great asset for me, because I've always like felt like, you know, I can be someone to encourage people and just like be there to uplift and just share my experiences and God's word and light. So I'm grateful, I'm excited, and I'm ready.
Yes. Let's do this.
So on this episode of Calm Over Chaos, we're going to dive deep into the topic of grief. A lot of people usually don't like to talk about grief, but we are taking on the task of breaking that barrier and just helping you all navigate through it. So we hope you guys enjoy this episode and that you tune in to see more and learn how to navigate through grief.
Hi, sister.
Hey, sister. I feel like it's been a long time coming, but like it's so crazy that it's here. Like the podcast is actually starting.
It is. It came really fast. But I really enjoyed the process of getting to this point and just like seeing myself grow. So I definitely,
I agree.
I'm ready.
I think it's time. It's time for us to use our voices. It's time for us to be like a stepping stone for other girls, like maybe in our position to voice their, you know, their thoughts and their truths and heal as much as they can, you know. So
yes.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about it. We are here to heal.
I think like one of the main topics that I feel like a lot of people struggle with talking about is grief. And from my standpoint, I think that there's a lot of like negative energy around it, because it seems so like bad and everything. But I think essentially if people like take a step back and they really dive deep on like, you know, the process of grief and like how it doesn't always have to be bad, like people wouldn't like be so fearful of grief. But I know firsthand, like experiencing grief at a young age really kind of like affected and shaped like my, you know, adulthood and like just my journey growing up, because it is so permanent. But I think that like learning that or like experiencing that so young kind of like helped me to be better like as an adult, to maybe accept it more.
Right.
Because back then I used to just be like, what is happening? You know, like, why is this even a thing? Like somebody that you know, love and, you know, looked up to or saw every day, or maybe not even every day, but every once in a while, and they're just not physically here anymore. That's, you know, that's devastating. And I feel like, and it's not just like grieving like within like family or whatever, like there's grieving within relationships. Like if you've had an old boyfriend, you know, y'all fall out or whatever, that's grieving, you know, because it's the end of that relationship. But it's just all how you like navigate through it and how you push through, because I think that like it's just a part of life to prepare us for, you know, the greater good, which is, you know, life after death and everlasting life. So I think for me, it's just like, it took me a while to really understand it, but now that I'm in the space that I'm in, I'm more prepared for like depth and to talk about grieving and things like that. But,
For me, I think when it comes to grief, I was one of those people who like thought I knew grief, but hadn't experienced it yet. So once I experienced grief, it hit me like no other. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of grief. A lot of people just don't see it coming.
yeah.
So it does like affect you and, you know, builds inner turmoil because it throws you off balance.
Yes, it does. It completely turns your life around.
It does, and you're right. I agree with you. Like it's about how you deal with grief, because grief is forever, and it's something that we'll experience for the rest of our lives.
Right.
So I feel like I'm here moving forward. Like be positive about it, or if it's not a positive experience, but there is a positive on the other side.
Exactly. Learning how to find that positive.
Yes.
I think is the key. Yeah. Because I mean, that's the thing. Like no one really talks about it. So like when it happens, like we're always not prepared, having to like scrabble and make sure that this detail is taken care of and this is taken care of and this and that. And it's like, when you think about it, it's just like, it does take a lot of like time to plan these things in the homegoing service and, you know, things like that we don't necessarily think about on a day-to-day basis, which I feel like we should, because it's a part of life essentially. So it's better to be like prepared for it than rather like not having anything to stand on when you're in the midst of the storm. So yeah, I think for me, like when I lost my granddad when I was in the 3rd grade, I just honestly was just like in shock. I didn't even like think it was real. Like I just was kind of just like, you know, but seeing my mom like take it really bad, and our family in general, because it was so like, you know, it was really just kind of happening out of nowhere and unexpected. Yeah. So it was just like experiencing that, and then like, you know, at my young age, 8, 9, I'm like, I'm not really knowing what's going on, you know, but, you know, as the years go by, I started to realize that even though he might have been absent from like his body, I could still feel him, like in anything that I did, even in college, like, you know, I feel like he was like one of the main people that helped push me through, because it wasn't nobody else but him and God. I feel like, so like experiencing that, I was just kind of like at shock at first, but then I started to like realize that he didn't necessarily go away completely. Like he's still here with me.
Right.
And then too, like, my cousin, when she passed, like that was very unexpected and kind of like really just made me angry. Like I think her death is when I experienced the anger part of grief the most, because I just felt like, why her?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it took me a while to kind of like realize that I did question God at that point, because I just was like, you know, somebody so perfect, somebody like with their head on straight, somebody, you know,
Right. And it's okay.
in their walk with God, like, you know, just like one of the epitome of like a child of God and just like a good person. And when she did pass, I was so angry, because I was just like, why her, you know? But then like you realize like, why not her, you know?
Exactly.
And it's the saying of like, God takes his strongest soldiers first. So I feel like with him taking her along with my granddad, like I feel like once I got older and realized that I'm okay with him like not being here anymore, and made it better and helped me realize that yes, they might not be here in the physical realm, but they're in heaven waiting for me
in the spiritual realm.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that made it a little bit better. But yeah, that was my take on it, like as far as the anger part, because when I say I was angry and I had so many questions, like I just didn't even like, I couldn't even understand or comprehend, because I just felt like it shouldn't have been her. And I think that was a part of like why I was having trouble so much. But I don't know, I think essentially like just like encouraging people to like figure out what their spiritual journey is and making sure that they are, spreading love and like being love and light is like a good asset to have in life, especially like when you get hit with stuff like grief or whatever, like type of chaos in your life comes at you. Like you're more equipped to, getting through it and not just like, okay, like what do I do next? Or, like allowing that to like overrule your life and your situation. So yeah, grief is something I don't wish it on nobody, but it's something that we're all going to experience. And like you said, like it's going to happen like for the rest of our lives. So might as well get prepared for it and embrace it in a more positive way. So that way it's not like just a negative cloud or something that, we're in fear of. Because essentially, like, I would like to, my soul to pass on and to go to heaven and to meet my family that has already gone on before me. So I think that is like another thing to like look forward to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. I experienced grief not too long ago, and I feel like it was something that it was a journey. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect, but for me, my grandmother passed, and she was more so like a mom to me. Mm-hmm. So when she passed, I really didn't know where to turn to, because that was the person that I turned to. Mm-hmm. So I think that experience in itself just made me realize that I did have to change the way I deal with my emotions. Mm-hmm. Because that is such a big deal. A mother who's no longer with you, you do have to deal with your emotions on your own, So that was something that really triggered me. But to me, I think I still personally deal with it, and I don't think it's something that goes away.
No,
ever. It doesn't ever go away. It sticks with you. And so that's why I definitely preach like it's okay to deal with it in a positive way, because we will have to continue this journey.
Right. Yeah. And I think like what you said earlier on when your grandmother did pass is that like you felt like that was your push to, do all the great things that you have accomplished since then. And I think that is like a great example, because sometimes like life has a funny way of working out like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like, imagine, like, not saying that you wouldn't have accomplished certain things.
Right.
Up until now, but it's just like the fact that like God was able to use her as like your nurturer, your person that you go to like with anything. And I feel like with the name of our podcast, Calm Over Chaos, like it allows you to like have that push and to find the calmness within yourself. Right. And not have to like automatically think that you have to like, go to your grandmother or like, cry for her, like to be that, person for you. So I think you've like grown a lot too since then, spiritually and like mentally.
Yes.
Because it is a mental battle, like.
It is.
Whether people realize it or not, it's definitely something that is just like very detrimental to, your way of life. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I grieve the same way. Like I said, like with relationships, with family, it's tough. Like, you never really, like when you love somebody, you never really want to see the end, right? Or at least you're not thinking of the end. And I think that when you're equipped to know that if it does end, it's okay, you take stuff a little better. Because it's been times where it's been like, I thought this dude was the one. And God quickly got me together and was like, no.
He humbled you.
Exactly. Yes. And I have had my times where I've grieved relationships where I was like, sick in a bed, not necessarily like sick in a bed now. Yeah. But, kind of just like in my feelings about it, because I had hopes like, any other girl, or, like you have those thoughts in your head of like what you plan your life to be, but then you realize like, you really don't have to say so of your life,
You really don't.
As far as like plans go. So I think that like just navigating through that was tough because it's like, gosh, like, I'm thinking that this is the person that I'm supposed to be with. And it's like, God said no. It's like having to understand that and be obedient.
Right.
When that happens is the key, because if I wasn't obedient and just been like, oh, that was just like a little scare, that wasn't nothing, I probably would have been in more turmoil than I'm going through right now. So I'm grateful to God that like certain things didn't work out and that certain things did come to an end, because I would have, wouldn't have been able to like see the light at the end of the tunnel, when it comes to certain things, and thinking I know everything, because that's one thing I struggle with. It's always feeling like I know the plans, or like trying to plan everything out with my life. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Right. So, which goes to our scripture that we always say, my plans are not your plans, for I know the plans that, I have for you.
Exactly.
And it's just like in the controlling, aspect that we try to have, and we put that scripture in it, that really, like, it goes back to calm over chaos, like calm down. It doesn't have to be chaotic. You're making it chaotic because you're trying to control the situation.
Yeah.
And it's just like.
That's so funny you say that, because I feel like I'm, and I'm a fire sign. I know like some people don't really get into astrology like that. Like I'm a child of God first.
Of course.
But I'm a Sagittarius second. So we're very fiery.
He's like something in me.
Exactly. He gave me a little razzle dazzle, but that's okay, because I feel like that's what makes me me.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I noticed that like that has played a lot of like how I live my life. It's just always just like being dramatic or blowing things out of proportion, and it's just like, no, girl, calm down.
Right.
For real, calm down.
Yeah.
Because essentially, like, it all works out, and I think that has been the greatest lesson for me as an adult, is like realizing that like my worrying is not really like doing anything for me, because it's already going to work out. It's already worked out. Yeah, so it's like, why work myself up? It's God already worked it out ahead of time before I even like was introduced to the circumstance. So it's like, yeah, just calm down, girl.
Right.
That needs to be like a little segment. Just calm down.
Yeah,
girl.
just put it like in the car, like as soon as you get in.
Yeah.
Because like you get in the car and you ride down the street and you're already like frustrated and you're already in traffic.
That's me.
Like
every day. That's what I need to pray over, because I have really bad road rage, and it's just like I need to practice that in general too, because it's like every day. Like,
it's the fact that you laughed at.
I know it's bad, y'all. I don't recommend it. I recommend being safe and nice on the road. Don't take any advice from me, but sometimes people try you though.
They do.
But I think too, learning to take the high road and the calm over the chaos is the better way to go, for sure.
And I feel like living that life, when you go out to the real world, you can see who's living that same life. Like you said, people try you. They may be operating on a level or a space that you're not in. So they're in a negative space, and then, you're just going on about your day, and then here they come to interrupt your day. So you kind of also see, okay, they're just not in that calm space.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, let me control myself.
Exactly. Worry about yourself.
Right.
Yes. Speaking of like, on the topic of grief too, like what is your take on like grieving like certain parts of yourself? Like, have you ever like thought about certain things? Because I know I've had like, lately I've done a lot of reflecting, just by like looking at certain images of like myself as like a little girl, and just like, grieving certain stages of my life.
Yes.
I kind of feel like certain people don't talk about that, but I think it's a thing, because like we are essentially like growing and changing every day. We're not who we were 7 years ago and 7 years before that.
Right.
And I think it's just like amazing to see, life in different aspects of like your growth and your journey. But I know for me, like as a kid, I was very like, I don't know, I wouldn't say I was obnoxious, but I was just like maybe oblivious to like a lot of things. But I feel like I've always had like good wisdom.
Yes.
And just like being able to like, turn things around or, see the good out of certain things.
The big light of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I do grieve like my younger self a lot too, because, back then I wasn't worried about half the stuff I'm worried about now. And to like parts of my younger life did have like certain people in my life that are no longer in my life now. So it's like that is kind of like sad and just like kind of like hard to say goodbye to. But I think moving forward, it's best to like look towards the future and not reflect on the past as much, because that really could like bring out the sadness of grief. It's just like grieving like certain things that no longer serve you or that are no longer relevant in your life, and just are unnecessary, don't matter,
Right.
But
yeah, I feel like when it comes to grief, I also feel like you should, heal yourself. Even before those times come, like as much as you are healed, the better you can deal with certain things. So I feel like that's something I learned while I was grieving, is like just healing.
Yeah.
Because some of these thoughts or these emotions may come from me not just being fully healed, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it made me open my eyes and realize, okay, this area needs healed, or this area is something that
still need
work on. And we're all a work in progress, but it's just like that was my big intake, like just healing. So I think that's like my thing that I'm currently still processing, is just my healing journey. And I don't think that'll ever end. I think it's continuous. We'll continue to heal from things that no longer serve us. Things we did in our 20s, we're not going to take in our 30s, and vice versa. In our 30s, we're not going to take in our 40s.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a process, And the faster you learn, or the faster you heal and learn to deal with things, the better off you will be in the future. When that next mishap come, you'll be like, okay, I know this feeling very well. So I know how to deal with it now. I don't have to operate out of chaos. I can operate on a calm level, even though I'm dealing with this negative,
Yeah, and to the point you were saying too, I think a lot of times, like for me, but I know one thing I was gonna say is like, what's your advice for like younger girls like that are like going through similar things, or that have gone through similar things? Because I really, from my standpoint, like I just have to say, on or off camera, like I'm proud of you for the progress you made to take the steps to heal yourself, because that is a task, and not a lot of people like have the strength to reach out for help. And I know for me, growing up, I never really used to like want to ask for help or like, depend on anybody. And just learning and growing, like I realized that it's okay to need help. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to talk about stuff, because the more and more you keep it inside, the more it festers and boils and like essentially like grows like a negative bacteria in your body. And once it gets ready to explode, it's it's no turning back from that. So I've like realized that like taking on certain stuff like that head on, rather than letting it get bad or get to a point to where it's like no turning back, is better for me, because essentially it helps me like have a better outlook on life and kind of like just help me avoid certain stuff. But I think too, like I would suggest, and I think my advice would be, is for like young girls to like seek help, like whether that be like your religion, like whatever it is your religion is, like seek help through that first and foremost, or just like finding something you can like go through life with, and experience things with, and help you navigate as well, or just like listen to you, voice your concerns, or your situations that you're going through. I think that's the main key, is just like being able to be authentic and share those moments, because you never know who you can help in that moment by advocating and encouraging people to you know, seek help or talk to somebody, because mental health is real. And then too, like, we're in the month of May now, like, mental health awareness. So it's like, if we're going to advocate for those things, we need to like stand on it and really like actually like encourage people to make sure that they're taking care of themselves mentally, and, you know, using resources that they have, like wherever they are, to be able to like fully heal themselves to be their best selves. But
Right.
yeah.
I would say any advice I would give for like younger girls would be the same. I feel like you should seek that help. I know for me this year, I'm turning 30, so the thoughts that I used to have no longer fit my lifestyle, you know, like, or just I just don't align with those things. So I decided to take it on myself to get into therapy, and I think that has been like the biggest blessing for my grieving process, because I didn't know how else I was going to get through it.
Yeah.
Or just continue the grieving, because I was like, even though like it's been 30 days and I've kind of already grieved, like moving forward, how can I be better? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I recommend going to therapy, and when you do seek therapy, you know, let it out. Like that was something that I struggled with, of just like going to therapy and
laying it all out.
yeah, and I was like,
because it's like, you in my business a little bit.
And that's okay.
It's there. Yeah.
Right. And I felt like that. I was like, I really don't want to tell my business, but you know, your business is what's affecting you. So it's like, you have to tell your business.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it, because that's one thing, and I've told you this before too, like that's what I struggle with the most. It's like telling people what's wrong, or like just telling people my business in general. I'm more closed off, and I feel like I've always had the mindset of like being independent and just like trying to handle stuff myself. But I realized that sometimes it's not always best to handle things yourself. So yeah, I think that's great advice. And even if they don't want to talk to a therapist, because, you know, people always have the negative thoughts behind therapy and things like that. But I think it's necessary. I honestly feel like they should require it in like schools. They should, like, just wherever, because like it's helpful, you know?
And it's hard to get to those spaces too. I know it was hard to just drive to therapy, because I'm like, wow, like I'm taking myself to therapy, like, but you know, it was just a big step in my life. Yeah. And so, yes.
That's good though. I'm happy to see that, because like it gives me hope for myself. Yeah. And just like following after you, like as a little sister, it's like, you know, being able to see somebody like actually taking action and standing on business.
Right. And I tell you all the time, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of talking. It's time to do it.
Right. Yes. And I think that's one of the main things for me, is just like, you know, being more actionable and putting stuff into fruition, and, you know, not just being all talk, because I feel like that's all I've been for majority of my life, and I was tired of that. So I'm grieving that right now. But essentially, like, I want to be in a space where it's like, if I'm saying something, I'm doing whatever it takes to see it happen, you know? Just see the longevity. Cheers! That was good.
Yes.
I enjoyed this topic.
I did too. Thank you for checking in with me. I enjoyed our sister check-in. And thank you guys for tuning in to our very first episode of Calm Over Chaos. Yes. Where we are here to do the work and heal. So we will check back in with you guys next time.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.